So my name is Darren Gertis, and I'm glad you're with me. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about what's going on in Ukraine. I'm a professor. I've been tracking the war since nearly the beginning, and it is day 231. So here's what's going on in Ukraine. I track daily events, and then I try to create some kind of theme out of what's going on. There are multiple pivot points today. And if there's any theme, it's that we're at a really interesting place where things have changed in this regard and that regard and the other regard. And I'll show you what I mean. The ISW is the Institute for the Study of War, and they're a great source. Russia has seemingly intensified its information operation to falsely portray Ukraine as a terrorist state, likely to set information conditions to counter efforts to designate Russia as a terrorist state. So there's two things in that. One, Russia tends to do whatever Russia is doing at the time, it tends to blame the other side of doing that thing. That's just the way that they operate. I don't know why, but it tends to be a trend. Two, the conversation won't be from they're Nazis, they're Nazis, they're Nazis. It'll be to they're terrorists, they're terrorists. Now, if they're terrorists, then Russia is countering terrorism, and that's the way that they're going to run as they move forward. The Russian information space may also be setting conditions to justify further massive strikes on Ukrainian rear areas by sending missiles into those areas, which is amazingly bad, stupid kind of stuff. It cost $1 million a missile, or more than $1 million per missile, and they keep lobbing them into civilian areas and hitting playgrounds and city streets, and it's bad. Okay, next. Okay, more than 70 people killed in Zaporizhia over the past 2 weeks due to Russian shelling. So a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, Russia, depending on when you date it, with Putin's speech or with the final signing of the last thing from the State Duma, has annexed these four oblasts. Well, but 70 people have been, and said they were going to fight to the last inch, but apparently not for the people. They're going to fight over these inches. They're bombing in Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia is in one of these oblasts that they theoretically, on paper, claim to own. So that they're shelling here when they claim to own this and they're fighting to the last inch doesn't make a lot of sense. Moreover, in Zaporizhia, the nuclear power plant, again, missile attacks damaged the plant again, and there was an emergency shutdown. Russian shelling and damage to the infrastructure is nuclear terrorism. It legitimately is nuclear terrorism. So again, remember what Russia's accusing Ukraine of is terrorism, and they're engaging in it. But like anybody who has any sense could figure out, okay, there's a nuclear plant here. We're not going to shell anywhere near it. Let's draw a truce around this thing or whatever. Invite the UN in to hold it. So whatever, they could have done something. Okay, Kharkiv Human Rights Protection Group. Now, this is one of those pivots. Putin is admitting that they're doing something different. So Putin's deliberately bombing Ukrainian energy infrastructure, playgrounds, apartment buildings out of revenge. So here, there's these three paragraphs that are just really fascinating. Up till now, however, the rule of thumb has been that war crimes like bombing of a railway station in Kramatorsk, a shopping center in Kremenchuk, and a center that was the officers' building or whatever, the center in Vinnytsia, and countless other attacks on civilians were denied. They claimed to have been Ukrainian provocations. They were made up or described as high precision strikes on legitimate military targets. That's how they have framed everything to this point. They would lie and lie and lie. They're no longer lying. Lviv, the person being interviewed, pointed out that this was the first time, the last couple of days, that Russian leadership had admitted to targeting civilian infrastructure. The narrative up till now had been that Russia uses only high precision weapons. Now, either the high precision weapons are not that precision, or they're actually indiscriminately, or they're not indiscriminately, they're very discriminately targeting a playground, a city street, a faculty office at the university. They're hitting these weird things. Russia's claimed that the attack on the bridge, which Ukraine had not said had not claimed responsibility for, they have not said they were behind, was a terrorist act. Now, I doubt that Ukraine wasn't behind it, right? I mean, who else was really hitting it? I think it was Ukraine, but they haven't claimed responsibility. But Russia's saying it's a terrorist act. It's impossible to take seriously when they're acting the way that they are. This is an illegal bridge by an aggressor state, which is being used by the latter to deliver weapons, military hardware, and men for Russia. So that makes the bridge a legit target. Okay. But on top of that, Russia is then going 10, 20-fold what, I mean, look, if you rain down missiles in 20 cities for one attack on a bridge, and you say if one is terrorism, the other is terrorism, come on. Okay, anyway, Putin then said that Russia's massive attacks on Ukrainian energy infrastructure, military infrastructure, and communications were in response to what he alone claimed to be Ukraine's act of terrorism. He did not, of course, mention that Russia had also killed at least 19 civilians on 10 October alone. Remember, killing civilians, that is supposed to be terrorism and a war crime, right? Though attacks on a playground and the university in Kiev and residential blocks and other clearly civilian targets. So again, they have this weird tendency to say you're doing this while they're doing the same thing, maybe even worse. Okay, next. Hey, by the way, please stick around to the end. I have two awesome memes. The first you might have seen, the second I'm pretty sure you haven't. So just stick around. Okay, next. Ukraine claims gains near Herzen and NATO allies send air defense systems. So the hot war on the ground, I mean, soldiers are still shooting at soldiers, so that's still going on. But one of the other pivot points that I want to talk about is all this massive bombing that Russia has done in the last few days has caused Germany and the United States and other countries to send air defense systems that they didn't have before. So this is another pivot point. Like they didn't have this and they're now getting supplied with it. Ukraine's army boasted of territorial gains near the strategic southern city of Herzen on Wednesday, but that pales in comparison to this. Meanwhile, Ukraine's defense minister lauded the arrival of the first Iris-T defense systems from Germany and expedited delivery of the sophisticated National Advanced Surface-to-Air Missile Systems. They were promised in June, and it took till now to get it to happen. So what Putin did by massively amplifying his aggression has actually worked in Ukraine's favor. A new era of air defense has begun, he tweeted. Iris-T from Germany are already here. NASAMS, that's from the United States, are coming, and this is only the beginning, and we need more. Okay, moving along. At the same time, Ukraine has crowdfunded $10 million in 24 hours, not from just Ukraine, but elsewhere as well. $10 million in 24 hours to buy kamikaze drones. And so, by the way, here's the park. This is a precision strike on a park. Okay. So the person that created or organized the initiative said that they wanted to scare us, but we united even more. Remember, never infuriate Ukrainians. The people have donated for the revenge, so we will ensure that the revenge happens. And I understand what they're feeling. I mean, I felt terribly angry just watching. Like, really, a missile strike on a park? Well done, Russia. That's, standing up. Like, you could have been using these missiles to fire at the enemy soldiers. And this is really a bizarre thing. That you're not using that to fire on enemy soldiers is really striking. It tells me either you can't find the soldiers to fire at, or you're going to have a hard time, or you're just engaging in terror. So there's also an inflection point at Ramstein. There was a big meeting at the Ramstein Air Base, and Austin said that the war has unified the international community. I think he's right. The UN just voted, and here's the Twitter of who voted on what. So they voted by a wide margin, 143 in favor, against by 5, and 35 abstentions. Who voted in favor of it? Belarus, North Korea, Russia, Nicaragua joined that group, and Syria. Well, I mean, 143 to 5. Okay, next. Russia's FSB says 8 were detained over the Crimean bridge blast. They're still holding on to the truck theory. Let's have some fun with Russian state media now. So Russia's FSB says that Ukraine's military intelligence chief took part in the Crimean bridge attack. That's probably true. Now, all the rest of the things are probably not true. Now, a more official document, this is the Federal Security Service of the Russian Federation. It's somewhat like our FBI or something equivalent. The explosive device was in camouflage rolls and construction polyethylene polyethylene film on 22 pallets weighing however much, and citizens here moved it from here to there to the other place, and on the same day they're loaded on a truck and they travel over here, and at the moment 5 citizens of Russia, 3 citizens of Ukraine and Armenia participated in the crime have been detained. Okay, I don't know that that's going to hold water. Okay, here's RT talking about the Crimean bridge attack. And as you scroll down, 12 individuals suspected of as accomplices, 8 have been arrested. And then they show this really interesting photo. So an image released by the FSB allegedly shows a truck with explosives on board during a scanning procedure. Now, it seems like it's indicating that this is the truck. If it's not the truck, it's deceitful, and if it is the truck, why didn't you stop it? So this is floating around on the internet. This is on Reddit. And somebody contacted me and sent this to me, and I really appreciate when viewers like share things with me, because I don't know everything, and they shared this with me, and I got back to them and I said, well, wait a minute, hold on, let's do some fact checking, because the image seems to indicate here's one wheel and here's 2 wheels, and so it's all over like, haha, the Russians are trying to scam us. The Russians do enough stupid stuff. They lie enough that we don't need conspiracy theories. So I've said that before as well. But here is Newsweek fact checking it, okay? And here's the same image, but to their credit, Newsweek also said the original FSB press release does not claim that the photos show the same truck, but it really does kind of seem to be like that's what they're trying to imply. So it's fair if somebody was deceived by that, because they're trying to kind of show, oh, okay, we're on top of it, we know what this is, here's what this looks like. And yeah, so that's what's going on there. Okay, I promised you 2 memes. You've probably seen this one before, but it is more true now than ever. Russia is a terrorist state. Russia is a terrorist state. And shame on us for not admitting that within the United States government, officially declaring that to be the case. And then here's the meme that I really, really like. Somebody was very clever here. Witty Ukraine meme. Putin's meeting to discuss the Crimean bridge attack. And this is his long table with somebody photoshopping in what the bridge apparently looked like or whatever, and that was very, very clever. You win the internet. Hey, if this was helpful to you, please press like so it can tell the YouTube algorithm to spread it. And I just want to end by saying I support peace, and I call on Russia to restore and return illegally annexed Ukrainian lands.